Hello everyone. In this video we are going to discuss about the identification and processing of herbal drugs. First of all, let us discuss about the selection of herbs. So the species or the botanical variety selected for cultivation should be the same as specified in the official pharmacopoeia or the national documents. The reason being that it will be better possible to go for the quality control processes. Then in case of newly introduced medicinal plants, the variety selected for cultivation, it should be identified and documented. So now the identification and authentication of herbal materials. First of all, the botanical identity. The species, subspecies, genus, variety, etc. of the plant should for cultivation should be verified from a qualified botanist or an institute, and it should be recorded. So it must be first authenticated. The specimens, in case of a new plant with medicinal properties whose identity is not yet known, a specimen of the plant should be submitted to a national herbarium for identification and documentation. So it is very essential that whatever herbal materials we are going to use, those should be first authenticated. Seeds and other propagation materials. The suppliers of seeds and other propagation materials should specify all the necessary information relating to the identity, quality, as well as their breeding history. The seeds and propagation materials should be free from contamination and diseases in order to promote the healthy plant growth. So now let us have a look at the steps for primary processing and the secondary processing. So in primary processing, there are many procedures like garbling, washing, parboiling, leaching and drying. We'll be discussing these in detail. Then secondary processing, there are many processes like cutting or sectioning, aging or sweating, baking or roasting, boiling or steaming, fumigation and the extraction. So first of all, let us see what is primary processing. Primary processing is the basic or the initial processing. It includes simple procedure by which the herbs are prepared like sorting of different parts, garbling, cleaning, drying, etc. Or we can also say that these are the basic initial processing of the crude drugs in such a manner that the chemical constituents of the drug should not change. So if the basic processing or the primary processing is done, then after that also the chemical constituents should remain the same. So first of all, let us see what is garbling or sorting. This process helps in ensuring the purity and cleanliness of the harvest materials. Dirt like soil, dust, impurities like insects, dead tissues, and the residual non medicinal plants are separated from the raw material. The process depends on the part of the plant to be prepared. The process may involve procedures such as removing dirt, foreign substances, discarding the damaged parts, peeling of barks, sieving, trimming, removal of hair from roots, removal of seeds from fruits, stripping of leaves from stems. So, this may be done by mechanical means, but in some cases, it is usually performed manually by hands. So simply whatever the unrequired material comes along with the plant like soil, dust, some insects, dead tissues, etc. that can be removed manually. So that is known as garbling or sorting. Next procedure for primary processing is washing. So after garbling, the herbal raw materials should be cleaned well to remove the traces of remaining soil, dirt and other impurities from the surface. because garbling manually we were just removing all the impurities, so they some of which have completely adhered with the drug, they may not be removed, so for that we wash them with clean water. So the roots, rhizomes, and tubers are washed with clean water because these are the underground products. So underground products, all the earth, mud, soil is adhering to them. So these need to be washed before the further processing. So during the washing process, scrubbing and brushing may be necessary. Then parboiling or blanching. After washing, certain herbal raw materials need to undergo parboiling process in which they are put in boiling water for short period. This may help in improving the storage life of raw material and preventing the mold contamination. It may also facilitate in further processing such as removal of stubborn impurities as well as outer coats or covering of the raw materials. So next process is leaching. So some impurities can be removed by subjecting the plant material under running water, known as leaching. So continuous water supply is given over the plant. However, the duration of leaching should be controlled to prevent the loss of chemical constituents present in the drug. So, if leaching is done for a very long time, or if the crude drug is placed under running water for very long time, so it may be possible that some of the water soluble constituents may also be lost. So, the duration of leaching should be controlled. Drying, in some cases, the plant material should be thoroughly dried after washing in order to prevent the deterioration and degradation of the active constituents. So they must be dried as soon as possible to remove moisture and reduce damage due to microbial or the mold infestation. Drying also prevents the activation of certain enzymes which may otherwise degrade the active ingredients and also facilitate grinding and milling of the raw material. Depending on the drug and nature of ingredients, different drying methods can be used. So, different drying methods, for example, the natural drying, we have sun drying. So most herbal raw material can be dried in open air under direct sunshine provided the climate is suitable. The duration of drying process depends upon the physical structure of the plant material and the weather conditions. The plant materials should be spread out in thin layers. Care should be taken to prevent contamination by the dirt impurities. So while drying the plant material, it should also be protected from insects, birds, rodents, pests, and other domestics. Now, the shade drying can also be done in some cases. So some medicinal plants cannot be directly exposed to sunlight because on direct exposure to sunlight, it may lead to the loss of some of their active constituents. So they need to be dried under shade. This drying process is slow but helps in minimizing the loss of color, volatile oils, and aromatic compartments from being evaporated. Then, artificial drying. So, the drying by artificial heat is more rapid than open air drying, and it is necessary in rainy seasons when the weather is not suitable. The temperature and equipment used depends on the physical and chemical nature of the drug and its constituents. So various equipments are used for artificial drying such as tray dryers, spray dryers, vacuum dryers, etc. And here also it is very important to note that overheating should not be done. Otherwise it may lead to the excessive loss of volatile components. Some of the components may be decomposed also. So the temperature should be kept below 60 degrees. This is very important. So whenever we are performing the drying process in lab, we are using ovens. So the temperature should be below 60 degrees centigrade. Then tray dryers or ovens, the drugs which do not contain volatile oils and are quite stable to heat, which need activation of enzymes are dried in tray dryers. In the process, hot air of the desired temperature is circulated through the dryers, and this facilitates the removal of water content of the drug. Then vacuum dryers are also used. The drugs which are sensitive to higher temperature are dried by this process. For example, tannic acid and the digitalis leaves. Spray dryers, there are few drugs which are highly sensitive to atmospheric conditions and also to the temperature of vacuum drying. So they are dried by the spray drying method. So this technique is followed for quick drying of economically important plant or animal constituents rather than the crude drugs. So spray drying is used for the constituents, for the phytoconstituents, or for some of the enzymes, etc. For example, papaya latex, pectin, tannins, etc. So now let us have a look what is secondary processing. So secondary processing includes the advanced techniques or done post primary processing. So first the primary processing is done, after that the secondary processing is done. Cutting, sectioning and comminution. So after thoroughly drying, the herbal materials are processed by cutting and sectioning into smaller sizes, which is convenient for storage, extraction as well as for transportation also. So various sizes can be obtained depending on the part of the herb and the extraction methods which has to be used. So it may be in the form of small particles, coarse powder or even in the fine powder. Then what do we mean by aging or sweating? Aging refers to storing the raw material for a specified time after harvesting. It is generally done under sun or in shade for up to a year. During the process of aging, excessive water is evaporated. Enzymatic reactions may occur to alter the chemical composition of the herbal material. Sometimes this is very beneficial. For example, cascara bark should be aged for at least 1 year prior to use in medicinal preparations to reduce its irritant effects. Then sweating is done by subjecting the herbal materials at a temperature between 45 to 65 degrees centigrade with high humidity for a period ranging from 1 week to a few months. So the herbal materials are stacked between woolen blankets or other kind of cloth. The sweating process is considered a hydrolytic and oxidative process in which some of the chemical ingredients of the herbs are hydrolyzed or they are oxidized. Then let us have a look at the next step, which is known as the baking or roasting. So what is baking or roasting? It is a process of drug heating where the herbal material is heated in ovens. The temperature of heating and duration of baking or roasting vary from one herbal material to another until the drug develops a specific color. For example, in case of nutmeg, it is roasted till they turn to the yellowish brown color. So it depends upon drug to drug and case to case for what purpose we require it and how we are using it for the various steps. Then the boiling and steaming. In the boiling process, the drug is cooked in water or any other liquid solvent such as vinegar, wine, milk or animal urine. For example, Acorus calamus, the rhizome is boiled in cow's urine with stream using a streamer resulting in development of moist texture. Then next secondary processing procedure is stir frying. In this process, the herbal material are put in spot of frying pan and continuously stirred or tossed for a specific period under heat until the external color changes charred or even carbonized. To facilitate the uniform heating, the drug material can be admixed with sand, talc or clay. For example, licorice roots and rhizomes are stir fried with honey. So again, this depends for case to case. Some of the drugs may require the stir frying for the preparation of the medicinal products. Then fumigation, sometimes the harvesting raw materials are subjected to fumes. Fumigation with sulfur dioxide is commonly employed for some medicinal herbs for the purpose of preserving color, improved appearance, bleaching, and preventing the growth of insects and the molds. So that's all with the primary and secondary processing of crude drugs.